This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, and welcome to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where two sisters talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm Brooke Brigham, I'm the attorney.
And I'm Tess Brigham, I'm the therapist.
And we're here today on our journey of talking about And Just Like That, Season 2.
It has been a journey.
It is. And this is episode 6. I've already forgotten the name.
Bomb Cyclone.
Oh, Bomb Cyclone. That's right. How could I forget?
And boy, has it been a bomb.
Yeah, I have
and
to say, I thoroughly enjoyed this episode.
Really?
I really did.
Wow.
I liked all of it. I mean, there were things on it that annoyed me. Of course, I'm always annoyed by certain people on here, but I just thought it was a good episode. I mean, a lot happened. Mm-hmm. I liked it. I liked the stories, and so it's getting better.
Really? Well, as I said last week, I decided to let go, to stop trying to make it more than it is. I decided, and since I've decided to let things go, and I have been enjoying the show more since I decided to let lots of things go. And it felt like a lot. I enjoyed the show. I've read some things that people have written. I think in Vulture, the reviewer talked about how the show felt like it went in a lot of different directions, which I understand. And I think my one criticism would be that I am still frustrated by the fact that there are a lot of characters that they are not utilizing. And it's more of frustrated that they have so many great actors.
Yeah, but they just don't have the time.
And they just don't have time to use them.
It's a 45-minute episode. And it's just it's too many. And they know that they have to focus on the core.
Yes.
Carrie, Miranda, and Charlotte. And there just isn't room for 3-4 more storylines.
And I think that part is, and I understand that and I get it. And I just feel more as the SAG-AFTRA strike is happening and all of these things. And you see this in the news. I think it's just frustrating. I just feel for Seema and Naya and LTW, even though the LTW had a little bit more going on this week. I just feel for them. And Mario Cantone. I just feel for all of them that they don't have enough to do because they're all great actors. That's all. So.
Yeah. Well, okay, so
let's get started.
Let's start with Carrie since she opens up the episode. And I have to say, Carrie, I just am noticing she's just so kind of dour and dull.
Yes.
Like, is this still that she's in grief, or is this just how she is now? She just has no sparkle in her at all. I mean,
that is very good. Yeah,
she went from being this, real perky, enthusiastic character, and now she's like Eeyore. She's like, dun, 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 dun. Every scene she's just kind of low key. She's just sort of there. I don't know. I just noticed it so much this episode.
Yeah, it was interesting because you could tell from this opening scene that where she's working very hard. She is really right. She's got the light behind her. She's trying to figure out how to look best on camera. She's getting on this Zoom for her virtual
interview for
book
her
tour, right? And I don't know. That's a good question because the old Carrie was the one who was just sort of like, running off, messing up her hair and then dashing out the door, ready to take on life. And this one is spending all this time like, how do I look?
Yeah, well, it's just her affect and her mood to me. Just in every scene, she just seems so low energy.
Yeah.
So anyway, she's trying to do this Zoom interview, and the woman who's interviewing her hasn't even read her book, doesn't even know what it's about. And so she reverts to asking her what color lipsticks or, she's into this season. And then the laptop comes tumbling down off of this stack of books and boxes that she's put it on. And that ends the interview. And she's like, thank God.
Well, I was just kind of wondering if this was like the writer's commentary about how this is what being a writer has become, right? Like you write this very, you write this deep, somber book where you pour your heart out, and then what you have to do to sell it is have to deal with some flighty person that hasn't even read your book.
Yeah, you have to deal with some influencer who is not even her demographic. Yeah. Or I don't even know why she's speaking to this woman. This is she finally gets her target audience when she goes to WidowCon, which we'll get to later. But so then the next scene, Miranda is, she's sleeping at Naya's house and, the studio, and she wakes up we're supposed to be going character by character. Okay.
Let's stick with Carrie.
So Carrie, so the next thing we see Carrie do is she goes to the Apple store with Seema, and because she has to replace this computer that's now broken. And Seema asks if she wants to get a Hamptons rental. It's still winter now, but for the summer. And Carrie says yes. And
this is the part that's so frustrating. This is all Seema has to do this entire episode. Are we not going to see Seema date? We're not going to see Seema.
Well, we just saw her with the penis bump guy last week. That was a pretty good. That was a main story of that episode.
Okay,
so you got to be patient.
All right,
be patient.
Okay,
so then Carrie she goes to see her publicist, or whoever that woman is. And
then her editor. Yes.
Okay, so then in comes Rachel Dratch.
Oh my God. This was hands down. I don't know why Rachel Dratch doesn't work more. This was the best.
She's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's formerly known as Karen, but she changed her name to Carrie because it's not a good time for white women named Karen.
I know. My sister-in-law is named Karen, and I
feel so bad.
I know. I feel terrible for her, but yet we keep asking her. I'm like, how do you feel about being Karen right now? She doesn't seem to mind. But yeah, she changes her name to Carrie. And apparently they were writing partners back in the early 90s. But the whole thing, the way Carrie Bradshaw responds to it is so weird.
Yeah.
I thought that was such a bizarre choice of like, does she remember? Does she not remember?
Yeah,
was she so drunk and high in the early 90s that she not remember that she was, in this? Or did Rachel Dratch kind of make this whole thing up in her mind?
Well, that's part of what I'm talking about. Carrie is just so weird now.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had a very weird reaction to it and very awkward.
Yeah, like Carrie Bradshaw kind of sort of remembers, but maybe not.
Yeah.
But Karen, we'll call her Karen. Karen has this whole memory in her mind that the two of them were apparently
writing partners
and a lot closer than Carrie really thought they were, and that the two of them had, worked on this apparently amazing script that was supposed to, I guess, launch them into a whole new realm in their career. And in Karen's mind, it was that Carrie flaked on them, and that's why, and ruined their careers and ruined both of their lives.
Yeah, and Carrie seems to have no recollection of any of this.
And
it's just bizarre.
And I guess another reason why, I guess that adds to the list of why Carrie Bradshaw is the worst.
Yeah. She's, again, very self-centered.
Yes.
So they actually have the perfect opportunity for Carrie to sell her book.
Yes, of course.
This thing called, well, they're calling it WidowCon. It's actually the Life After Death Widow Storytelling Event, which is a lot.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I think, is it Rachel Dratch who calls it a concert for sad people? Or maybe it was the publisher. I don't know, editor. But yeah, so this sets this whole thing up for Carrie to go to WidowCon
and be the keynote speaker.
She's the keynote speaker. And so she calls Che to go with her because she says, "You're so fearless." And Che's not feeling very fearless or very good about themselves.
Yes. And we'll get into that when we talk about the Miranda section, because Che is really struggling. And in the midst of all of this, there is Naya has Miranda and Carrie and Charlotte over to her place in Brooklyn for paella, and the subject of exes comes up. Mm-hmm. And Carrie talks about Aiden. Mm-hmm. And Carrie decides to draft an email to him. And we all know Aiden's coming back. Mm-hmm. So,
later that night, doesn't she go home and
drafts an email to him? Yeah. And so we see that. Now, I thought we see this other scene, too, with Seema, and Seema showing these beautiful homes. Of course, they're both very wealthy, so of course they're going to get a beautiful home in the Hamptons. Mm-hmm. So I thought that Seema was going to accidentally send the email. I thought that was what was going to happen.
Well, and also Carrie knew everything about Aiden.
Yes,
which means
Googled
that
him.
She's been Googling him. She's been following him. She knows he's divorced and he has 2 kids, where he lives, and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, oh, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't know how long ago she did her Google search.
Yes.
But, I guess I think that he's on her mind.
Yes.
And then also at that dinner party, there's some foreshadowing with, Miranda's always complaining about, her life's all in disarray and going back and forth. And she's like, I'm just waiting for Steve to get a place, but I feel like I can't bring it up. And Carrie basically breaks it down to her and says, he's not going to bring it up.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have to be the one to push it. And she tells her that last season, Steve had made that comment to her that he would never take off his wedding ring, and he was never going to, he's always going to love her.
Which I thought was weird last season. I thought that was so odd that he said that last season.
Yeah, well, Steve's treatment overall last season was not
terrible.
Good. Yeah,
this season's weird too.
But this episode is a little bit of a redemption episode for him, I thought. So anyway, just trying to close all these loops here. So fast forward to
the day of WidowCon.
The bomb cyclone has hit.
Now, we're out here in California. So I guess apparently these bomb cyclones are real things, that apparently on the East Coast, they keep having these bomb cyclones because of global warming.
Well, climate change has now produced these winter storms that are,
they're called bomb cyclones.
They're horrendous. Yeah. And you saw how, and actually in the writer's room podcast, they were saying some of those scenes of them walking out in the snow, some of them were real.
Oh, really?
Some of them were done in a studio. But some of them were real. I think they enhanced them with maybe some snow blowing machines or something. But I think when Charlotte goes to the drugstore, that was on the streets of New York. And anyway, I thought it was interesting. It was visually interesting.
Yes, it was.
Because it looked like a winter wonderland, and there's nobody else on the streets.
Yeah.
And Che calls Carrie and says, we're not going to this thing, right? Because have you looked outside? And Carrie's like, no, I have to go. And, so she puts on this big, huge, puffy coat.
Yes. Well, I guess apparently it's two pieces. It's I didn't write down the name of the designer, but apparently it's this over the top
Montclair or something like that.
Something, but I'm not, but and that's been one of my complaints is I feel like the fashions haven't been, it used to be, right, watching Sex and the City, it used to be like, oh my God, what is she going to wear? What's it going to be? And that was
a moment.
That was a moment for sure. And just to watch her walking down in the snowy winter wonderland. Yeah. I appreciated that for sure.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
I enjoyed that scene. But of course, the snow's coming down and it's in her hair, but yet when she gets to WidowCon, her hair is all freshly curled suddenly.
She looks great.
Yeah. So Che is there dressed like a lumberjack.
Yes.
And they are looking at all of the, vibrators for widows.
So what they thought was going to be a sad little, all these women crying tears and sad and, this depressing little thing is just, everyone's laughing and there's vibrators and T-shirts and they're shocked. They're shocked by how joyous and happy these women are.
Yeah. And there's a woman up on stage who's basically doing a comedy act.
Yeah, she's doing a tight 10 for these women.
About widow jokes and, so Carrie's like, oh God, what am I going to do? Because sad Carrie with her sad book is up next.
Yeah.
And she has to follow this lady.
So, of course, she goes to Che, wanting Che to write a joke.
Which Che did.
Yeah. But unfortunately, the woman, the funny Don Rickles woman, came up with a better joke and did it for her.
Yeah.
So Carrie tried but that's not who Carrie is. And so Carrie starts getting into the book. And so Carrie obviously wins the crowd over and they're in tears and they think it's great. And of course, the moral of it is that, yes, in widowhood, there's room for everything. There's room for laughter and there's room for tears and there's room for a vibrator too. So that widowhood is about many things. It's not just about one thing. And Che has a big aha moment too, that Che gets some perspective as well, because Che learns that it's time. It's
their life isn't over.
Their life isn't
because
over.
They didn't get the pilot.
Just because you didn't get the pilot, maybe sometimes in life, Che, that maybe that when things don't work out for you, sometimes it's the best thing for you.
Another door opens.
Yes.
Yeah.
When a door closes, a window opens, Che.
Yeah.
God.
Well, and I also thought that it was clear, again, some foreshadowing here, that they're trying to get this Carrie-Che relationship
back on track.
Because now, Che and Miranda are broken up and Che's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Che's going to remain on the show. So this friendship between Carrie and Che has to start to develop.
Well, I can't remember. You're the one that wants Che out of the picture, right?
Well, I did. I'm going to give Che another chance.
I was just going to say, because Michael Patrick King loves Che.
No,
Che's not going anywhere.
Character's not going anywhere. I've accepted that.
Okay.
I've accepted that.
And I think that Che, I'm curious to see what happens with Che when Che isn't with Miranda.
Yeah, I just didn't like them together.
Yeah, and also I would like to see Che non-jokey, schlocky, vulnerable Che. Like, let's just see Che the person and Che being Che. And if we could get Che away from that stupid podcast, X, Y, and Me.
Oh, that's done. Remember?
Yes, I know.
They closed down.
I know. Yeah. I know. Well, no, the podcast company's gone because Carrie wouldn't read about her dry vagina. So,
not even her dry vagina, just anybody's
dry vagina. So she just Carrie brought down a podcast company.
Bankrupted podcast company.
So, So, that's the problem.
Yeah.
All right.
More
so that's
to come.
Carrie.
More to come.
That's Carrie. And then in the end, Carrie decides to send the message to Aiden. And I have to say, I was always pro Aiden. I never liked Big. I always thought Big treated her like crap. And I always felt like the Big stuff was always, the fact that she always ended up with Big after everything. I was with Susan Sharon there at the funeral. He put her through such crap. And
yeah, but see, Aiden's the nice guy.
I know.
And, some women, myself included, just want to chase after the bad boys who don't really want us.
And I married the nice guy, and I like Aiden.
And I like Aiden too. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just telling you that's why Carrie didn't choose him. She chose Big.
I like Aiden, but I don't think, obviously, how many? I heard somewhere that he's only in a couple episodes or one. I hope he's in more than one episode.
Well, I don't think that Carrie and Aiden are going to get back together.
No, I don't think they're going to get back together, but I hope he's in more than one episode. I hope this hype.
It's probably 2 episodes.
Yeah, okay. I hope this hype isn't just 1 episode. Okay.
Okay.
Should we get into Miranda and her sad life, or should we wait till the end?
Let's do that at the end.
Okay.
Let's
do you want to do condoms or LTW?
Let's do Lily losing her virginity.
Well, we don't even know if she did.
She was trying to.
Okay. So Charlotte.
So I really enjoyed this storyline.
Oh, really?
I thought
because there was some controversy, apparently. I heard that people are really on the fence about this.
Oh, I thought it was very realistic.
I thought it was realistic in some ways. And I thought that closing shot of Charlotte looking up, I thought really was very well done and really encapsulated, I think, what parents feel. And I think that I think it was a good debate. I think some people thought it was silly and dumb, but I think it was a really good debate about parents and sexuality and kids and how much do you support and not support it.
Yeah, and Charlotte even said, my parents never talked to me about sex. It was always something, and we saw her entire character arc, in the Sex and the City. She was obviously raised, she was very waspy, we don't talk about sex and you're bad if you have sex and, guys aren't going to want you if you have sex, all those kind of shame-based things. That's what she was raised with. And so good for her. She very clearly did not want to pass that on to her daughter, and, she told Lily, my parents never talked to me, and she was trying to be sex positive, and she's trying to be open and all that kind of stuff. And, look, the reality is teens have sex.
Yes.
And you can't stop it.
Yes.
And, it was that moment where, she's on the phone with Lily, and Lily says, well, whatever the boyfriend's name was.
Blake or
Blake? Yeah. Well, Blake just Googled about pulling out. We'll try that. Okay. Any mother would be like, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
I would have gone out in the snow. I don't want my daughter getting pregnant.
Yeah.
I would have gone out in the snow, would have gotten the condoms, I would have done the whole thing.
Yes.
I mean, I thought it was really good. I liked it. Yeah.
I mean, and I think that, listen, maybe some other parents might feel like, no, I wouldn't do that, or no, that's not realistic. I mean, but I would have done it too.
Yeah.
I would have done it too. I mean, and listen, if some people might say that's not realistic to announce it, but some kids are like this. Some kids will announce it, or they might not they might not necessarily announce it in that way
in the kitchen in front of everybody.
Yes,
right.
But you might know because they have this new partner, or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, and you might have some awareness of it. And so you might be like, okay, you're with someone, I'm going to take you and get protection, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. But, listen, one of the things that apparently, when people have gone back and done research, that apparently Charlotte's had like the most boyfriends or the most sex out of everybody. And, so I think she wanted to, you cannot stop your kids from having sex. You cannot stop them from drinking or doing a lot of things, you can't stop them from doing that. So you've got to educate them, and you've got to help them, and you've got to keep them safe.
Yes.
And that's the best thing that you can do.
Yeah. And even though it was kind of a weird thing, if Lily and Charlotte had a good relationship, they would either Charlotte would have figured it out and said something to her, or Lily would have gone to her.
Yeah.
I mean, I think every mom, once their daughter has a boyfriend for any period of time,
Yes.
it's going to happen if it's not already happening, and you need to like protect your child.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I mean, that's the big thing is that, what you want from your teenager is for them to feel safe enough with you so that they will tell you about the big things. Like, that's the most important piece. And so you want them to feel comfortable to talk to you. And so as much as it might feel silly that Lily's making these big announcements, the fact that she feels comfortable enough with Charlotte to tell her these things, that's a big deal.
Well, and Harry, she said it in front of Harry too. And while Harry did the kind of dad thing where he's like, I don't want to hear about it, he didn't object. He accepted it, and he let Charlotte take the lead, and he didn't want to be involved. That's fine. Doesn't need to say anything. But and Lily, they just need to make her a little less insufferable.
Yes. Yeah. Her character is hard.
Her character's taken a turn. She used to be this sweet. Lily
has always been, poor Lily. They've made her that's of course the joke, right? Is that Lily was the one that, through Carrie's...
Oh, she took Carrie's cell phone and put it in her little kitty purse.
On the first... So that Big could call her. Yeah,
Big
which is why I left
her.
Carrie at the altar in the first one.
That's why we're here. Lily.
Yes. Lily's the one with her recital, which is how Big died, so they couldn't go to the Hamptons. Lily's to blame for everything. Poor Lily. She... And, Power of Privilege, that stupid song. Lily's been insufferable from day one.
And now she's got some purple streaks in her hair or something. It's like, oh dear.
Well, the other big thing is Rock's Ralph Lauren ad is out. Big Sunday New York Times. So everyone calls Charlotte to congratulate her. It's a big deal. So Sunday morning, because I think that's how the episode starts. It's Sunday morning for everybody. So it's a big deal.
Yeah, so LTW and Herbert, they're in bed with the kids looking at the ad. And
yes. And that's we can transition right into LTW.
Right into her, yeah. And the stupid thing happens where the daughter's jumping on the bed and kicks Herbert
was
in the
weird.
balls or something.
Why
was that necessary?
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
It was
to
really
maybe make
weird.
a little joke, but we then get to see that apparently they both have these work conflicts. LTW's her documentary is being honored
there's a discussion at the at MoMA a talk about the documentary.
About her documentary. And that's the same day as a political
campaign
event for him. And so there's this debate, whose event's more important? Who should be, who should be stopping by whose event? How should this be? And
as always, she sticks up for herself.
Yes, which is very good.
Yeah.
And, it's what are we building towards? I kept thinking, what are we building towards? I kept thinking, are we going to build towards him, freaking out about her not showing up for him?
Yeah, he wants
where are we going with
He
this?
wants her to be his campaign wife.
Yes.
By his side at every event.
What his mother expects of
or
a wife.
Maybe it's that, something about her work might be seen as controversial and impacting his campaign or something.
Yes, that's a good that's a good storyline.
Something is going to come to a head with these competing careers.
But that's what I thought. But then the day of the big event, of course, is the day of the snowstorm. And so her car gets canceled, but his person booked him a Tahoe. And I love in the writer's room, they're all like, ooh, what's a Tahoe? A bunch of New Yorkers. I'm like, it's just a big truck.
A big SUV.
It's a big, giant SUV truck. And so she, of course, is like, I can get there myself. And so she trots her way through the snow and gets there herself. And of course, you know, the big reveal is he then shows up to her event. And I was like, okay, this is not quite the way the storyline is going. And I was like, okay, where are we going with this?
Yeah.
And it was so odd. And it was a really beautiful moment. It was nice that he showed up for her. But again, I'm like, what? Huh? Like, what is happening? Like, I don't understand. I think it's beautiful, but I'm like, I don't understand what's happening here with these people.
Yeah. You know, I wonder, again, maybe this is some foreshadowing. So before she goes out into the snow, she takes off her wig, which I didn't realize that was a wig.
Yeah, neither did I.
But it's a wig, and you see her, she's got like a cap over her hair. And then she puts this kind of turban on her head while she treks through the snow. And then when she gets to the museum, she goes in the bathroom and puts her wig back on and gets ready. And there's this scene with her and this older Black woman kind of, you know, giving each other a nod. And I'm like, you know, is there like a hair storyline coming up? Because I started thinking, what's under there? I want to see her hair, like, or what's...
Oh.
I mean, why else would they have her take her wig off?
Oh, I think it was sort of this, it was like her armor, like I'm going into battle, like nothing's going to stop me. I'm going to taking this off. I'm going to put on this armor. I'm going to truck through the snow. And, you know, exactly what she said about her father. If there's only one person in the audience, I'm putting on a show. Yeah. Like nothing can hold me back.
Huh. Well, now I'm curious about her hair.
Oh, no, I didn't. I assumed that was her hair. I didn't know it was a wig either. Yeah. I didn't get that. But, yeah, that was kind of odd. And one of the things, I know I'm not supposed to be listening to the podcast anymore, but one of the things they said in the writers' room that bothered me was they were saying like, oh, yeah, now that we have these characters, we can really explore, you know, so much about their work. And we know so much about this documentary. I'm like, I know nothing about this documentary. Like, it's about 3 Black women, you know.
They haven't even named all of them.
I know the one about the law professor, which I can't even remember the name now because I heard it once. Who's the law professor?
Now, the Motley, God, I'm totally blanking on the name. Motley is one of the last names.
Yeah, it's like, well, I don't know who the other 2 people are.
Yeah, no, they haven't
like
said that.
No, I don't know anything. So that's the part, again, back to the same thing. So if we can talk really quickly before we get to the Miranda stuff about the dinner party. So we're still with the through line of Miranda's not drinking.
Oh, yeah.
So because they have to talk about how Miranda's drinking like this faux
alcohol-free wine. Yeah.
I don't know. It's so odd.
It is because I'm sorry, if she really was an alcoholic, she would not have been able to just quit the first time. I mean, I guess this does happen, but it's a very, 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 very few people where you just say, oh my gosh, I'm drinking too much. I'm just never going to drink again. And everything, they show her going into one AA meeting.
Yes.
This is just dumb.
No, I just like to say I worked in drug and alcohol treatment for a long time. I've worked with a tremendous amount of addicts. Usually for someone like Miranda who's realizing like, oh, wow, I've been drinking a lot. Usually what happens is they go, okay, yeah, I've really got to curb this. I've got to moderate. I've got to change my relationship with alcohol. And they do end up still drinking. They just change the relationship with alcohol. They will still have a glass of wine. They just change it. They're not going to AA. They're not like completely cold turkey done with it like that. If she truly had to stop, it would be so different. This would be it's so weird. The way they're treating this drinking.
It's like they're trying to keep it alive to maybe use it later at some point. So they have to keep reminding us that, see, Miranda's an alcoholic.
But I feel like it's the same thing. I feel like this is the same stuff they're doing with this other. This is the part that just bothers me. It's the same sort of like, see, we're being mindful about her alcoholism. see. It's like, no, you're not. You're not you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Miranda.
All right. So I thought she was being, I don't know. Again,
this is so weird.
She's acting so weird. They've made her so weird. And Cynthia Nixon directed this episode.
She did this one. This is the second one.
Again, I like the episode, but you'd think she she herself would kind of
be
tone
like,
it down.
Is this really Miranda?
Yeah. Where she wakes up in Naya's house. She doesn't know what time it is or what day it is. And she's got these heart pajamas on.
Yeah.
And Naya's like, settle down. It's Saturday. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, well, God, I got to get my coffee. And I mean, she's weird.
Yeah. So, she's living at Naya's, and Naya's working on her divorce papers for her own divorce. And I think that, of course, hits Miranda in the face, like, oh, God, what am I doing?
Right.
What's going on with me? And then we see Miranda at Che's, and they've so they want to make sure that we know that they're still having sex. So they just had sex.
Yeah.
But Miranda wants to cuddle, and Che's like, I'd rather not cuddle. So Miranda's like, okay, let's go to bed. And then all of a sudden, this is so funny. This is so weird. All of a sudden we hear Che go, hey, hey, I don't even know.
Hey, it's Che Diaz.
Hey, it's Che Diaz. Happy birthday, Kyle. Have a great birthday.
Yeah, which is a crappy cameo.
Yes, that was only like 2 minutes. I wouldn't pay $30 for that.
Yeah, I would not. I'd be pissed if I paid any amount to get a 5-second cameo.
Yes, you got to say more than that.
Yeah. Jeez. And is Che Diaz really that well known enough to be on Cameo? I mean, does anybody
You'd be
outside
surprised who's on Cameo?
Does anyone outside of New York even know who they are?
Listen, Che Diaz is so famous that Che Diaz got a pilot.
Oh, was that comedy concert thing? Was that supposed to be a Netflix special?
I mean, listen, if you've got a Netflix special, you're famous.
All right.
So, I mean, listen, I don't know how much people are paying for Che Diaz cameo. At least $40, $50.
Oh, at least 50, 75, I would think.
Yeah, so you've got to, but 10, but like 5 seconds, that's annoying.
That's not
But the
enough.
other thing is, why don't you just leave the room? Like,
that's so unrealistic.
Yeah, it was just weird.
They would, whatever. and Miranda's like, what's happening?
But it's just so odd. You wouldn't tell the person next to you, like, hey, I'm going to talk. I mean, it was just, it's just so odd because Che wouldn't think that would wake Miranda up.
No, look, Che never thinks about these details.
No,
they just insert whatever they need to insert for Che to do what they need to do.
So, of course, Miranda's like, what is happening here? And Miranda's like, okay, let me get this straight. So, and Miranda's hurt because it's like, I get depressed Che, I get, all of this, but you're giving Kyle, you, and Che's like, listen, I need to make money. I'm, my pilot's not going. I'm not going to the clubs. And you bought an apartment that I told you not to buy, Che. And so Miranda's pissed. And so she leaves. And Che is in a very, very deep depression.
They feel like their career is over and like a total loser.
Yes. Which I mean, I understand.
It's understandable.
It's understandable, but last time we saw everyone, it was Halloween. We're now deep
December,
in the winter.
January,
I mean, we're kind of like this has been going on for a bit. I can understand Miranda's frustration because we're now 2 or 3 months into this, and I'm not saying that not your pilot not going. You don't get to mourn and feel bad and process. But I do understand 2-3 months in that now you're depressed and that you should be seeking help.
Well, yeah. And Miranda was fussing at her and saying, kind of the same thing. You've been moping around doing nothing. You never leave the house. You need to leave the house, kind of lecturing them like she would her teenager.
Yeah.
And then Che makes a comment to Carrie when Carrie calls about the WidowCon and says, Mommy said I have to leave the house every day, so I guess I'll go with you.
Yeah.
So now...
And then Carrie, I thought that was great, and Carrie pauses and says nothing.
Yeah, because she knows how Miranda can be.
Yeah. Well, it's very telling. It was like, and just that pause, I was like, yeah. Yeah.
Because Miranda does the same thing to Steve.
Yes. So finally, after this dinner party where Carrie tells Miranda about the conversation she had with Steve last season, about him never taking the ring off, which okay, we're saying last season, which really happened earlier that year, about never taking his ring off, which I thought was, again, a very odd Steve thing. Like, again, the Steve that we saw last year
was not the real Steve.
No. It was like this old doddering guy that we all thought was very strange.
Like a victim.
Yeah. And, but not even, again, I don't think that, I didn't see him last year as a victim. I think they just aged him 90 years last year. It was really odd.
Yeah, I'm glad that they no longer act like he's deaf.
Yes.
And can't hear anything.
Yes. And so she's at home doing laundry, and he comes home, and she says that she's like, oh, where's Brady? Brady's working at Scout at the bar. And so she finally talks to Steve and asks him, what's going on? You know, are you going to get an apartment? And he says, well, you know, guess what? I'm not moving out. And she's like, well, wait a minute. You told me you are moving out. And he said, well, I lied. I'm not going to move out. And then they get in. And this is the part that I think just didn't feel or rang true for me, which is he got into this whole thing about how, like, you know, I found this place. You never wanted to move to Brooklyn. I built this house. I did all the remodeling, with my own bare hands. And, you know, yes, you never wanted Brady. You never wanted me. You never wanted this life. And the fact that she was silent through all of this, I just don't feel like that was Miranda.
Well, she did get in there that only she was on the mortgage or something like that.
Yes.
Which that's a shitty thing to say. And
yes.
Very Miranda.
Yes. And they were both saying shitty things to each other and saying things that I believe that, you know, when you get down to the nitty gritty of divorce and where you're at, people start saying those really hurtful, awful things to each other. But I feel like Miranda would have hit harder. I feel like Miranda would have been meaner. And I think that, I don't know, I just think that she would have fought harder. I just feel like she's just...
But what she did, I think she knows deep down she doesn't have a leg to stand on, because all that stuff that Steve said was true.
Yeah.
Number one. And number two, you remember back in the Sex and the City movie where Steve had a one-night stand with somebody, okay? And she left him, you know, he had to beg and grovel and everything for them to get back together. Miranda started an affair, a physical, and she fell in love with somebody else and was having sex with somebody else without Steve's knowledge. And then just a couple months later, whenever, you know, she springs it on him that she's leaving him and moving to LA. She did something so shitty. What can she say? This is the best she can come up with. Well, I'm on, the mortgage is in my name. Oh, that's nice. You know how much this house is appreciated, you know, because of Steve. And, you know, there's community property laws, and, you know, fuck you, Miranda, with your fucking mortgage comment. I am Team Steve on this one. This is Steve's redemption episode, and Miranda is an asshole. She has been an asshole to Steve their entire relationship.
Yes. I am not disagreeing with you that she has always been rough with Steve, and that really, truly, she has never loved Steve as much as Steve has loved her.
And he has loved the shit out of her, and he's done so much for her.
Absolutely.
I mean, she doesn't really deserve it.
And that probably, if it wasn't for Brady, that most likely she would not have been with him, that most likely that that's what has tied the two of them together. I am absolutely with you with all of these things. I just feel like, again, I'm not supposed to talk about Michael Patrick King.
Just very quickly, please.
I just feel like this all kind of comes back to Che. And I feel like what's happening now is that, it's so hard for me to explain, but it's just a little bit like, I feel like what they're doing now to Steve is, it's like, okay, people were so, this belief that people were so mad at Che because, quote, the belief is people don't like Che because Che broke up the Miranda-Steve relationship. So now this season, we have to make people like, Miranda and Che again. We need to make these people like them again. So that now we need to make people not hate us for breaking them up. So we need to get Steve to look good again. I don't know. It's hard for me to explain.
But,
it's just,
but Che did not break up.
No, I know.
Because do you remember what happened was Miranda, Che assumed that Miranda and Steve were in an open relationship.
Yes.
And then when she found out that they weren't, then she broke up with Miranda, before they went to LA. And so then Miranda just broke up with Steve so she could be with Che.
No, I understand that. I'm sort of talking, it's hard for me to explain, and it's so utterly pointless.
Well,
I'm talking about like these different levels of what the writers think versus what the audience thinks, and it's really not very important, and I don't care anymore.
Okay,
so it's fine.
Well, then Miranda has the audacity. Okay, so after Steve says all these things, Miranda starts crying, and she's putting on her coat like she's going to leave, and he says, "Oh, no, I'm sorry," and convinces her to stay because she's so upset. And then the next scene, they're lying in their bed, spooning with each other. And then Miranda has the audacity to get upset because she sees a condom wrapper, a Magnum condom, too, I believe, on the nightstand. And she blows a gasket. And she's like, "You've been fucking someone in our bed?" And it's just like, again, Miranda, what the fuck? Fuck you. You were fucking Che before, you cheated on him.
Because she's, what? The thing is that she's pissed. You know why she's pissed? She's pissed because she's been tiptoeing around him for all this time thinking that he's this victim. And she's like, oh man, he's not a victim. He's been living his life.
He's moved on.
He's moved on. He's been moved on this whole time. And I had no idea he's moved on this whole time. Like, I've been tiptoeing around here, and I shouldn't have. And I've been, atoning. And he's like, no, I'm not a victim.
Yeah. So she leaves, goes back to Che's, thinking she's going to get some sympathy, some, understanding or whatever. And, within not even 2 minutes of her walking through the door, Che breaks up with her.
Yes.
Which is what we've all been waiting for.
Yes.
And we all knew was coming. But, again, and then they're spooning on the bed. And then I forget what they even said to each other.
I don't think they said anything to each other. I guess I'm just so, I don't know what I'm trying to say anymore. I guess I'm just so perplexed by Miranda. I think that's what it is. I don't understand Miranda. I feel like I think that the writers are bringing the Steve that we know and love back, because Steve, the original Steve that we all saw was this funny, cute, sweet, goofy, charming bartender that wasn't terribly, complicated, but nice guy. And, but Miranda was someone who was like, straightforward, tough, could judge people very quickly, all of those things. But this person that we're seeing now, I don't know who she is. Well, I'm really confused by her.
Let me hear. I have some notes here about this, because there's this therapist on TikTok. I think I've sent you some of her videos. She talks about. I'm sorry, I don't have her name, but she talks about.
Maybe she can explain Miranda to me, because I am perplexed.
She talks about Sex in the City. Where does this start? Okay, so she says that Miranda only wants to be in relationships where the power dynamic is in her favor. And she notes, remember Skipper?
Yes.
Who's basically like the light version of Steve.
Yeah. And I always thought that was a weird relationship. Yeah.
And then we have Steve, of course. And And then she said, when she dates someone on her level, she's a neurotic, needy mess. And then she referenced Dr. Robert Leeds, Blair Underwood, who's this handsome, successful, intelligent guy. She lost her mind with that guy. You know what I mean? And she went back to Steve.
Yes, she did.
It propelled her to get back together with Steve. And then she goes on to say, when Che was doing the pilot and getting all this attention, Miranda was a shell of herself, out on the beach, losing her phone and, just the way she was flittering around in LA. But then when Che's pilot didn't go, Miranda started feeling more confident in herself because she likes to be around train wrecks. It makes her feel good about herself. And then she said, why would a Harvard-educated lawyer hang around with Carrie? And I'm like, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Why?
That is a very good point. I like this person. I got to start following her.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
That's actually, I never noticed that before because I always thought the Skipper relationship was so weird. Always like, why is she into her? I mean, into him. Like, I never understood why Miranda was into Skipper. I always thought he was such a doofus.
Because she could treat him like shit.
Yeah.
And just come and go in and out of his life, and he would never complain. He would never say no to her. Same with Steve. But, times have changed. It's been, 30 years or 25, however long they've been together. And Steve is grown up.
Yeah.
He's been through a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And he has a lot, he's contributed a lot to this relationship and to everything. And for her to just be just so cavalierly, treat him that way and run off with Che, that's a bridge too far. I don't think they'll ever get back together.
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So is Miranda still a lesbian now, or what's happening?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. That's a very good question.
Because I thought I saw in a scene for the next episode, it went by. I hate their previews; they go by so fast, you can't tell what's happening. But I thought I saw Miranda like all dressed up, and she was looking into a room, like looking kind of lovingly at another woman. So I don't know; I couldn't tell; it went by so fast. But I don't know. We'll see.
Well, technically, Che is non-binary, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Miranda's sexual orientation is.
So we shall see.
We shall see.
We shall see.
We shall see.
Well, I'm feeling better about Miranda now that I've gotten some clarity.
You have some context.
I have some clarity. I still, I'm feeling better about Steve. Well, are we not going to see Steve anymore, though? I like Steve.
No, I think we will.
Yeah. I think the other thing about these Steve scenes that bothered me was that I feel like we haven't really seen that much of Steve. Besides the boxing and the therapy scene, we haven't seen a lot of Steve. So it's a little bit of like...
We don't know where he's at.
We don't know where... So all of a sudden, this sort of outburst and these scenes between them, it would have been a lot better if... It would have been better if they could have... If we could have seen some, like... all the way through, what are we on, episode 6, right? Like, if we could have seen, like, since she was back in New York, like, snippets of scenes of them, like, talking and grousing, and, like, that's a more realistic thing. And then, boom, a big blow up. That would have been realistic so that we could know, oh, this is what's going on. Or, like, scenes of him flirting with this woman at the store. Oh, now we know. Oh, just that one scene of him from last year with Carrie and the boxing and him lying to the therapist. It was like, and then this,
again, not too many characters, not enough time.
Yep, there we go. I don't know.
All right.
Well, let's wrap this sucker up.
Yes. Things are looking up in this show.
Yes.
So thank you so much for joining us. If you like our podcast, we would appreciate it if you would subscribe and give us a 5-star rating and review. You can find us on social media on Instagram and TikTok at Psych Legal Pop. We also have our Sister Wives episodes that we do on...
It's come out on Tuesday.
And right now we are doing a rewind. We are on season 4. I think we're up to episode 7 or 7, 8, something. And of course, the new season of Sister Wives is starting in just 1 month. And of course, we will be covering that.
Yes.
So if you like Sister Wives, join us on Tuesdays and subscribe so you can get those episodes. And we will see you soon, hopefully.
Yes.
All right.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
With almost 500,000 customers and over $1 trillion of secure payments, Bill isn't new to intelligent finance. It's the proven way to simplify bill pay and maximize cash flow. Want to learn more? Visit Bill.com/proven for a special offer.
Pepsi Prebiotic Cola in original and cherry vanilla. That Pepsi taste you love, with no artificial sweeteners, only 30 calories, just 5 grams of sugar, and 3 grams of prebiotic fiber. That great Pepsi taste with even more to love. Pepsi Prebiotic Cola. Unbelievably Pepsi.